I'll announce the housekeeping rules. So since we've all joined in virtually, there might be internet issues. So please bear with us in case there is any. And please requesting everyone to mute themselves so that there's no interference. And in case of any questions, do feel free to put it in the chat box. We'll be addressing and taking it up towards the end of the session in the Q&A round. And we're really happy to have all of you here. And it's beautiful to see how women are taking their leadership roles and the different ways they're taking up to ensure that it's more holistic and not just very one directional. So today we have with us the very inspiring Monica Jasuja. Monica Jasuja brings a wealth of experience as a business and product strategist in the financial service industry, with a diverse background across markets such as the US, Taiwan, India, Indonesia, and Singapore. She has held leadership positions at prominent Fortune 500 companies and possesses a rare understanding of how to design custom digital financial solutions for a range of user groups. Jasuja's expertise in business development and management has resulted in a track record of grooming top-performing product managers. A highly regarded thought leader in the fintech industry, Jasuja has been recognized as a top 50 B2B leader in APAC and one of the top 15 global thought leaders in fintech. She is a member of the executive committee at the India FinTech Forum and a recently appointed ambassador for the Emerging Payments Association of India, EPAA. Ms. Jasuja's technical acumen is complementing by her unwavering commitment to mentoring and making a positive impact. She invests her time and resources into coaching and guiding mid to senior level women seeking to advance in leadership. Her leadership philosophy focuses on bringing high-performing teams that drive results while prioritizing empathy and giving back. A very warm welcome to you, Monica. We're really grateful that you agreed to doing this session for us and for creating change and starting up the entire business community with your holistic approach on leadership. It's beautiful to see how you're approaching it in a very identity-oriented way. It's not just related to being a leader and doing the minimum, but adding more of your own personal flair to it. So thank you so much for coming here and taking up this session. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the Aspire for Her team for putting this together. I'm pretty sure that this is hopefully going to inspire a few more women to not only join leadership positions, but also build their personal brand. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Aditi, you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes, I am.
All good?
Yes.
Excellent.
You're good to go.
So we are hopefully going to have a very easy breezy session and introduce you to the main concepts. So first of all, hello, I'm Monica. I'll be sharing with you a little bit about how to build thought leadership and influence, a strong personal brand. I'm available on as Jasuja on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Coup, and on Instagram as well. I made my debut, though I've been there for a very long time, but it's a public profile. So just putting it out there. Now, what I'm going to cover today, first of all, why thought leadership? This comes up a lot of times when I speak to women, and this is also a question that I have foremost in my mind in terms of whatever I do. How do you really go about defining a personal brand? How do you create enough action and actually get going? And how do you establish yourself as a thought leader? So today I'm going to cover these items and hopefully get you all started on your journey if you're not there already. The whole idea is to demystify this very complex web that we've spun around us simply because it seems too complex. But the whole idea is to be able to understand it and simplify it for everyone here. Now, in terms of what we're going to cover, there is a lot, but I've basically broken this down into a couple of modules so that it's easy. At the same time, you're able to really ascertain and almost phase yourself to understanding this terminology normally used, and there's a burden on algorithms and trying to understand everything. Let's just try to take a quick look and simplify what you already know or what you probably think, and then we will get started. And we also have a series of polls that the Aspire for Her team has put together. So it's going to be interesting to be able to gauge well and what you are doing right now versus what we will hopefully be able to achieve by the end of the session. So Aditi, would you be able to put up the first poll then?
Sure.
So the poll is to determine how active you are on social media right now. What are you actually doing about having a voice and being known for your niche area on the internet? And of course, how do you think it even benefits you? So the whole idea of having this poll is to really ascertain where we are in our levels of both competency as well as presence on the internet at the moment. So it would be lovely if you can take probably just like 20 seconds to answer this. I think we're doing well. 50% have already answered. If the others could as well. Very, very simple poll. Also, we will be using the chat section. So if you have any questions, please do use the chat section. We'll be obviously monitoring it and we'll try to have all the Q&As answered at the end. But please do keep your questions streaming in. Awesome. So we have about 20 people who've already answered. For the others who haven't, please do take about another like maybe 10 to 15 seconds and then we should get started. Okay, I think we can get started then. So interesting answers and results from the poll. A lot of you are already active on social media. A lot of you are already interested in building a personal brand for yourself, and is obviously an area of both focus and opportunity. And there are others who are already, and there's a pretty healthy mix of people, about 40%, who are already investing in writing blogs, blogging, or even creating content on the internet. So this is awesome. Aditi, I can share results by clicking on the share this button, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So I hope that everybody here can see the results. So it's a pretty healthy mix, which is great. So let's actually get started now. Okay. So first of all, let's answer the question, what is thought leadership? Thought leadership is the practice of sharing unique insights and perspectives that inspire and influence others to take action, shape opinions, and drive change. It's about packaging and communicating your ideas in a way that resonates with a wider audience and establishes you as a recognized industry expert and opinion leader. Now, I wanted to draw out the difference in what thought leadership versus personal branding really stands for. And I will be articulating the difference a little later. But thought leadership is essentially not just a tool of change for yourself, but also for the world. It's an extremely empowering practice, specifically for those in leadership positions or those who aspire to be in leadership positions. It is something that you can use to your advantage, not just for building a very strong personal brand and being known for your niche area, but also being able to actually get other people and your ideas to scale. So we'll be looking at a few examples of great thought leaders who have made a mark. And I'm sure that many of you will already recognize these names, but why don't we just look at some examples? So we have Brené Brown. I don't think there's anyone who has not heard her amazing TEDx talk on the power of vulnerability. She's a research professor at the University of Houston. She's a thought leader on the topic of vulnerability and shame. Now, if you look back at her journey on the internet, you would notice that she went from, I would say, anonymity to being this really amazing thought leader on this topic, which didn't even exist only because of an amazing TEDx talk. Now, her TEDx talk has already been viewed 15 million times, and she's looked at as an expert in this area. Then there's Simon Sinek. He's a motivational speaker and author. I don't think there's anyone who has ever missed his short videos, as well as, of course, his amazing reels on Instagram, which are always trending, where he talks about motivation. And he is a best-selling author on leadership and organizational culture in the product management world. Again, most of us would have read his book, and we recommend this to everyone simply because it is probably the best book out there. Now, if you go back to Simon's journey as well, he has actually spoken about this in many podcasts about how he started. Now, he has actually built a phase-wise strategy of how he's actually gone from speaking, writing, blogs, now to the whole world of video, and he's been able to create a generational and phase-wise brand for himself. But the reason I'm outlining Simon is that motivational speaking is really big opportunity-wise, as well as all of us are looking for it. But when we think about Simon Sinek, the first word that pops up in our mind is motivational speaking. And that's the brand that he's known for. And that's the thought leadership content he is providing. Now, thought leadership is not about being known, it's about being known for making a difference. Now, the reason I'm outlining this is because very soon we'll be talking about building a personal brand. Now, thought leadership is really important because it's not a philanthropic activity. Of course, there's a lot to be gained from it, but it is not about you being known as a brand. It is a lot more than that. And this entire encompassing of passion, purpose, as well as scale is what makes being a thought leader a big position of responsibility as well. So Maria has said this beautifully. Thought leadership is not about being known. It's about being known for making a difference. So the key takeaways here are, first of all, what is thought leadership? I hope that would be clear. It's definitely very critical. And if you feel that it isn't, I would love for you to be able to go back and almost, and that's why I asked the question earlier in the poll, who are some of the motivational or the really inspirational thought leaders that you think about when you think about building thought leadership? And if you were to look at that list, I'm sure that there would be some names that would pop up and you would ask yourself that question. How can I be known for what I am doing in my field? And how can I be looked at as a thought leader? Again, why it's important and how it actually helps in career progression, we'll be looking at that. And then I showed you a few examples of thought leaders who are doing amazingly well. Now, the importance of thought leadership in your career progression. Now, this answers the question, why should you be investing your time, effort, and possibly even money to build your personal brand? A lot of people specifically get overwhelmed by the whole idea of building thought leadership, but they don't understand and they're not able to correlate it to the various aspects on almost the domino effect that it can create in terms of your career and in terms of your business. And that's what we're here to almost unpack for you in a very simple way so that it becomes a little bit more relatable. So, career progression, first of all, it establishes you as an expert. You're considered to be the go to source as far as your vertical is concerned. Now, your vertical is your niche that you're invested in terms of business. It could be marketing. It could be, in my case, it's fintech. But it's that one thing that people think about you, which you're currently employed in, or you have aspirations to build your business in. It builds your credibility. Now, this is really important. I'm sure that there are recruiters in the room and there are people who are managing firms in terms of human resources. They will tell you today that when they're looking at candidates to hire or to even for advisory positions, the first thing they look up when they think about the candidate and they see a resume is go and look up their LinkedIn. This is how critical it is. So if you're known for a particular subject, your digital footprint that you are going to see when somebody Googles for you is going to be a reflection of not just your experience and the wealth of knowledge that you bring, but also of how you are perceived and how you have built your story. And it obviously demonstrates a lot of value. Now, the reason I say this is also because when you build your target audience, and of course, we'll be speaking about that a little bit later, your target audience and how they think about you, how they follow you, how they react to your content, how they react to you would be a good demonstration of what value you bring to their lives. Now, all of us specifically who are in the second half of our careers probably are thinking about how do we give back. Now, this is a great tool to be able to also give back. And therefore, if you want to work at the intersection of scale and impact, having a strong thought leadership and influential brand can actually help you achieve that with a lot less effort than doing it one-on-one or doing it bilaterally or even at university or other levels. So it creates a whole lot of scale with little effort. Now, it can lead to a whole lot of new opportunities. I've said this before, but people specifically who've turned solo entrepreneurs, who are in their own business, they need to have a very big top funnel. Now, how do you actually attract new business and new customers? Now, if anyone in the month of January has heard the Tim Ferriss podcast, he um, I'm forgetting the name now, Atomic Habits, the writer of Atomic Habits, sat down for 2.5 hours talking on a podcast about how they actually build their funnel. It is the most amazing set of 2 hours on creating a personal brand, creating thought leadership, being able to channel and funnel customers to content creation. I have never heard something which is a framework which is as excellent as that. The reason I bring this up is because we normally think about personal brand or think about, I'm an influencer. How does it help me? Can I monetize it? I think we are forgetting what kind of opportunities that being an influencer or a thought leader can really do for you. Therefore, we need to dig down deeper. But the one line that I want to leave you with is that it definitely attracts new opportunities. And these are not even the ones which are directly related to business, but many, many other ways to be able to monetize what you do and what skills you have. You get a lot of media coverage. Now, media coverage is important specifically because it's not just for women to be able to showcase themselves, but also for others to know who you are and then to approach you. Most of the speakers, if anybody here is an active speaker, the speaking circuit is based on how well you're known. And therefore, if you appear on media, if you have any of your own blogs appearing in digital publications, you are more likely than not to be reached out to. Now, Women's Day is approaching. How many of us would have already received a lot of invites just because we have a presence on social media? So it can definitely attract and help you with all these media coverage and other related opportunities. It's a great way to expand your network. So boys have a boys club. Women don't have a women's club, but we have Aspire for Her. And I'm sure that there is enough emphasis on women to network with like-minded as well as even better placed sponsors, so that they have not only mentorship, coaching, and sponsorship availability, but they have their own personal set of advisors. There is no better way to be able to build your own network and to be able to gain if you have and you're known as a thought leader in your field. And of course, it opens up a lot of career opportunities. You'll be the first person to be looked up to and be called out for if there is an opportunity that comes your way, comes up in somebody's mind, and they have you top of their mind. It's definitely sets you up for a lot of success. First of all, you're building a reputation and also a legacy of the kind of work that you want to be known by. And you're leaving a very big lasting legacy. I think all of us who've seen the COVID times obviously are thinking about what we are going to leave behind. And that's definitely beyond material possessions. So this is definitely one way of being able to give back as well. Now, Cheryl, I wanted to also draw this point related to some beautiful and very successful examples. So Sheryl Sandberg had many careers before she actually became the CEO of Facebook. She wrote Lean In, which has become like the Bible for all women related reading, leadership, and of course, how women are supposed to empower themselves to be able to lean into not only to each other, but also to be able to create a healthy network. Now, just think about it, but being able to write that one book, establish herself as a complete thought leader on women's leadership and gender equality. Before that book, she was not known for any of this. And after that book, she has become like a synonym for women's leadership and specifically for gender equality. The number of speaking opportunities, including TV appearances that she's had, is phenomenal. This has led to board memberships for her. So if you think about what it can do, this is exactly what thought leadership can do. This actually led her to becoming a CEO, and now she's actually in a CEO role. So when you question yourself, why should I invest in it? Always look at role models such as this. Then there's, of course, Bill Gates. He was obviously a legendary founder with Microsoft even before that. But being known in the tech industry and being ahead of the curve in tech was only one part of his job. He actually used that thinking time to be able to develop visions and insights into the future of computing. He took that thought leadership into building Microsoft as one of the most successful companies in the world and in history. But he's actually used his platform for effect. It's not just that he's using this for tech, which is for capitalistic reasons. He's actually using his voice to be able to become and of course, there's a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but he's voicing his concern, of course, um, debatedly for a lot of disease eradication. He's putting a lot of money behind it. But the question is, global health and education never had a stronger voice than Bill Gates. Now, the question is, how has he transformed himself from being a tech entrepreneur into being the foremost authority on global health and education? Complete, like he's a case study in building a thought leadership around a particular area and being able to transition very successfully from one niche to another, and being able to almost have transfer rather than building from zero. And then there's, of course, Ariana Huffington. Who doesn't know her? Her sleep disorder and all the areas that she's spoken about have again become foremost foundational work for her foundation. She wrote a book. She's actually created a company around it. She's working and helping people around the world reduce stress and improve their health and productivity. But if you again look at her entire journey, it's based on being able to build thought leadership in one area and almost build pillars around it to build a successful business. So when we think about businesses, when we think about opportunities, these are the role models that you should be looking for. And there are plenty more in every area. Now, the relation. So before I move to the before I move to the next section, again, the one key takeaway from this one is that everyone who is here should be able to relate to why building a personal brand, having a thought leadership status is important. So if you're still confused about it, please do post on the chat box. Happy to read what you're thinking and be able to answer that. But I also now want to draw the relation between what we consider is a personal brand and how it actually builds into thought leadership. Or are they complementary? Are they intersecting? How do they work? Which one goes before? What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to develop a personal brand? So, what is the relationship between personal branding and thought leadership? Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. I think we've heard a lot about that, and people talk a lot about clout. They talk a lot about influence. But the fact of the matter is that the first thing people think about you, especially when you're not in the room, typically helps them identify with what you're known for. So, what story you put out is very important, because that is your brand. And when people are speaking behind you, they will remember only a few words. It's not that they're going to remember all your posts. It's not that they're going to remember all the companies that you're going to be that you worked for. But there will be typically a single line or a typical one or two words that they relate you with. Jeff has said something which has become obviously like a go-to quote for everything about personal branding. But there is a little bit more to this, which we are going to unpack now. So you can have a strong personal brand and not be a thought leader. The reason I'm outlining this is, though I wouldn't want who are already leaders, there is a very strong emphasis in today's world, including with generationally different kids who are currently taking up these strong positions on becoming a strong personal brand themselves. It doesn't matter whether they have experience. It doesn't matter whether have gray hair or not. It doesn't matter who they are. But success has come to them relatively early. Now, the question is, for women who are on the other side, though, who have tasted success, but they don't have a strong personal brand, they are overwhelmed by the possibilities that exist, and they ask, why should I have a strong personal brand? Should I become a thought leader? Am I supposed to have a great personal brand that people know me by? I think I want to have all the women leaders actually ask themselves, do you want, and this is the section which will help demystify that. Do you want to be known as a thought leader? Do you want to be known as a strong personal brand? Which one is the legacy that you aspire to have when you are not around in the current roles that you are in? And which one do you think you're most interested in being, I would say, focused on at the moment? You can be both, you can be one, you can be none. It's really up to you. But this is a very important question. And I'll just demystify what this really means, because it is the difference between leadership and between being able to focus on yourself. And that's the essential difference. So, the intersection of personal branding and thought leadership. These are like two interconnected concepts which are essential for today's success in today's fast-paced world, where most of what we are seeing is actually happening on the internet. We are living in a social world. We're living in a digitally connected world. So whatever we say, do, it's actually already leaving a digital footprint. Now, your personal brand is the unique combination of your skills, your experiences, and your personality that sets you apart from others. By establishing a strong personal brand, you can build trust with your audience and establish yourself as a thought leader in your field. So, personal brand is a tool to help you explore this thought leadership. Thought leadership, on the other hand, involves sharing your unique perspective and insights on industry trends, challenges, and opportunities. By doing so, you can establish yourself as an expert and build a reputation as a go to source of information and advice. So let's look at this diagram, which very nicely, and by the way, this is not from me, this is from a lady who runs the Thought Leadership Lab. She speaks here about thought leadership. As you can see, the arrows are going towards the outside. So thought leaders are focused on being the ripple in the pond. What ideas they create tends to be something that is focused on the outside, which is to towards others, not towards themselves. Their ideas are what they want to scale. Their thoughts are what they want to have other people reach out to them and other people be affected by. So they want their ideas to be scaled and have an impact on people, to be able to motivate change and inspire a complete move from what is considered a status quo. So on the largest scale, they're creating, joining a movement to bring about social, technological, economic, or other systematic change. Now, this is really important because, as you can see, the arrows are on the outside versus personal brand. You can see that the arrows are on the inside. So this is focused on bringing attention to yourself, your expertise, your organization, raising your profile. So building one's personal brand can be a highly effective career enhancing strategy. You can get a lot of new job offers, of course. It can be useful for bringing customers to the door. So if you're a solopreneur or you're running your own business, you really need to be focused on your strong personal brand, because it's a sales tool. It's a channel that brings you opportunities, but it doesn't make you an automatically a thought leader. So that's the difference. Do you want to have a very strong personal brand? For example, if you're a marketing professional, you can be talking a whole deal about what you're doing within for marketing within your current set of business. You could say about how you're running that business, how it's generating revenue. You could be talking about what is new in the business. But when you're a thought leader, you're really talking about the trends in marketing that are going to impact the today, it's going to impact the future, and probably it's going to impact a generation of consumers. You're building ideas for the world and you're talking about the impact of change. You're an industry expert, so you look at the industry from the perspective of insights. You draw those insights and you actually create summaries or you distill the information to spread it to the world, and then you engage with your audience to be able to not just impart that information but to be able to learn from them. You build a community. It's not just about giving and just, it's not like just a push where you throw out ideas into the air, but you're actually learning from them as well, and that is what creates change. So always ask yourself, do you want to have a strong personal brand only? Do you only want to have a strong thought leadership position, or do you want to have both? And one can definitely give way to the other, but just having a strong personal brand where you're focused on you will not make you a thought leader. And the reason I'm outlining this is because there is a lot of value that needs to be created. You're investing a lot of yourself when you're a thought leader, and you're doing it a little bit selflessly and a little bit selfishly. But if your impact and your entire focus is on you at the moment in your business, then you should be looking at considering personal brand as one of the areas of opportunity for yourself and not be looking at thought leadership. Now, Denise Brousseau actually outlines this and summarizes this in the most beautiful way. The bolded letters here are, or the bolded words are for your benefit. It clearly articulates what is the difference between personal branding and thought leadership. So thought leaders are the informed opinion leaders and the go-to people in their field of expertise. They become the trusted sources to move and inspire people with innovative ideas, turn those ideas into reality, and know and show how to replicate their success. Over time, they create groups or group of friends, fans, and followers to help them replicate and scale their ideas into sustainable
Yeah. I think we are losing you, Monica. Uh, is it just me?
not just in one company, but in some entire. So, in case you are following, is it okay now? I don't see my internet to be a problem, or should I switch networks?
Okay, no, I think
It's okay now, but on and off, I think because of the live stream and all that, it causes a problem. Zoom to live stream is not always stable,
Yeah.
but that's okay now. It's okay now.
Okay.
it's okay now.
Okay. So why? Yes. So in terms of thought leadership, I think Denise is bringing out the difference between thought leaders who are creating ideas of scale. They are able to innovate and they are able to give back. Now, if you think about thought leaders in your area, perhaps you can use the chat just to let me know. But when I think about thought leadership, it is about being able to create scale and being able to create impact. And impact is a very, very abused word, but thought leaders, most often than not, they are proven to be true. In product management, where I'm also a product leader, I follow Shreya's he talks about organizational change. He talks about when you read what he's writing, it's almost like writing and reading a book. And reading a book and writing comments on it is like leaving notes on it. So there are a lot of thought leaders in this in on LinkedIn specifically and on Twitter who are leaving a mark because they have an engaged community who not only Naval is another one. He's known for his writing. He's been able to create streams of resources now, which are obviously legendary in nature. But he is a true thought leader. What he is doing is leaving a mark on not just us, but on generations after us. So therefore, this is almost for me like a Bible in terms of what you would like to aspire to and how you would like to leave your legacy. Again, there's absolutely nothing wrong in only focusing. Very clear is that personal brand will get you to some place, but you then shouldn't be overwhelmed when you are asking yourself, what is the legacy that I leave behind? Perhaps that can be a next phase of your journey, and you need to be very clear about it. Now, the key takeaways that I wanted to leave you with is first, you need to have a personal brand. Now, that is critical. Being top of mind, having a differentiated point of view, managing your reputation, and developing your unique brand personality is your key to success. So, that's like a must have, it's non negotiable. You need to be on the journey. Now, that's very important. You can start off with having a personal brand, but you need to be able to develop yourself into the journey of the next step. And if you are already on that journey from being a personal brand or a leader to becoming a thought leader, then you need to develop a brand reputation as somebody who is knowable, which means knowledgeable, likable, and definitely very trustworthy. So your ideas need to be authentic. They can't be copied, and somebody has to be able to trust you by being able to trust not just what you're saying, but how you're saying things. Then you need to adopt a TL mindset, which is a thought leader mindset. Now, adopting a mindset of a thought leader means that the actions that you are deriving also need to be very strong and authentic. You need to come across as an opinion leader, somebody who has an opinion, is able to voice it, and is then able to defend it. And this is about your specific niche. You need to be able to build trust. You need to be able to move and inspire people. And you need to codify your ideas so that you can create change. So, as you can see from here, it's a journey, it's not a destination as well. You can't become one versus the other in a day. It's going to take change. But what I want to leave you with is that it's non negotiable, at least living in where we are today, to be able to have a personal brand and then be on your way to thought leadership. Now, there are few gender challenges when we think about thought leadership. And the reason for bringing these up is because we are a set of women. We definitely will understand these challenges that we face. And therefore, when we think about and compare our journeys to others, it definitely comes in the way. So I wanted to actually highlight these particular differences that we as women definitely seem to, these are challenges that we face, and our journeys are going to be different from other genders. So first of all, there's a huge confidence gap. I have never seen a man ask, what do I write? What do I say? They'll probably have a problem in writing or saying things the way they have, but they'll never be short of topics. I don't know what it is and where the confidence comes from. As far as women are concerned, there is a huge confidence gap. Even the strongest speakers will always be questioning themselves before they are at an event about whether they will be able to do well. So women are really less likely to put themselves forward for leadership roles or speak up in meetings. It's really who we are, and we understand that, and we are obviously trying to overcome this confidence gap. There's a huge credibility gap as well. So women face a greater scrutiny and skepticism when presenting new ideas or challenging the status quo, especially in male-dominated fields. And then there's definitely a visibility gap. Women are underrepresented in industry events, making it much harder to build networks and establish themselves as thought leaders. We're definitely invisible. We're not seen. So, what can women do, and how can we claim a seat at the table, specifically in this case, in terms of thought leadership? First of all, we definitely need to build confidence. I think it's important. I think it goes without saying that women definitely need to have mentors and sponsors both. You need to practice on your public speaking. If public speaking is not your area, then please, I mean, by all means, use the power of words, use the power of your voice in audio format. But there are so many ways of being able to develop this confidence that you have to absolutely take charge of this by yourself. You need to be able to recognize that your own value and expertise is really worth it. And this is something that nobody else can do for you. I think a lot of us spend a lot of hours with our coaches to be able to understand how do we value our own selves before anyone else. But this is something that we just have to do. And the reason for outlining this is that you're not alone. All of us face the same challenges. But the idea is that since we know that this is a problem, we definitely need to take care of it. We need to be able to amplify other women's voices. The reason, again, for bringing this up is because we have challenges, but then we also have solutions. You need to be able to almost be aware of what this could look like, so that when tomorrow you have another woman in the room, you should be able to amplify her voice and almost have somebody else have her amplify yours. If it is a little bit of sisterhood, it goes a long way in being able to be heard, specifically in the areas where you are invisible, especially in boardrooms, for example. And you've heard a lot of the coaching practices talk about how you can actually have an ally so that somebody else speaks up for you and make sure that they are able to paraphrase what you have said, so that idea that you put out there. So by supporting, promoting other women in your field, you can counteract this gender imbalance and make sure that your diverse perspective is heard. So this is really critical. If somebody needs to do it for you, you need to do it for somebody. It's not a one-way street. And definitely you need to be able to create opportunities for yourself. If there's one thing that I want you to take away from this session, is that you need to take charge of your own thought leadership journey. Nobody else is going to do it for you. There are plenty of ways where you could even outsource it. And we're not here to talk about that. But you need to take charge of what you feel is right for you. And nobody else is going to do it. So you can't wait. You can't wait for opportunities to come your way. You need to actively go out and seek them. You can actually do that by creating your own opportunity by, for example, owning up and almost putting up your hand that you can write and co-author a blog. There are plenty of publications who are looking for thought leadership content. You could start your own podcast. You could feature in podcast and reach out to people and say that I am an expert in this field, or I am working here and I would love to be featured on your podcast. And these are the set of questions that you could ask me. And I'm happy to address this because it will bring this new audience to your podcast, and help build it up. There's absolutely no podcast host, unless they're really big in the top 10, who would say no. Similarly, organizing your own events. If you don't get invited at panels, there is absolutely nothing in the world which stops you from having an online event. So please don't let anyone come and tell you that this cannot be done. It really can, and you need to take charge of it. Now, the most important question, which is what we're here for, and I know that we're running probably short of time, so I'm going to take probably another 10 to 15 minutes on this particular topic because it's really critical for the action plan that we came here for. So how can you get started? And what is it that you need to do today? that you can start developing your thought leadership strategy. So this is a great slide, simply not because of how it looks, but because it's really, really actionable insights that you can use today. You don't need to make it more complex than it is. And there is way too much information on the internet. So please remember, it's not that difficult and it's not that complex. So first things first, what do you need to do? And what are the key components of your strategy? As a leader in whatever area that you're working in, I'm sure that you're used to developing strategic plans and being able to action on that strategy and being able to break it out into components. So first, determine your niche. You need to be able to pick an area that you need to focus on. Good thought leaders always focus on one area or one niche that they stick to, and they typically will not transition. There are many who do transition, but it's very rare. So you need to be able to identify that one or two niches that you want to be known for. If they are related, even better. You need to stay current. I think I've spoken about this, that you need to have an insight. You need to have an insight into how your industry is developing. And if you don't, then there is no way in the world that somebody would look up to you for insights, because you don't have a worldview. So you need to stay current. You need to learn from your peers. Building a community is very, very important. This is why communities such as Aspire for Her are so critical for our success. Because when you have peers who understand what you are doing, who talk the language that you do, it's more likely than not that your own blind spots will not come in the way of you learning something new. Or, for example, you overcoming something that's the problem area for you. So it's really important to learn from others. Don't hesitate to look out to other thought leaders for how they are developing their strategy and how they are able to do well. You need to boost your industry presence. We spoke about it very, very briefly, but very, very important. Like, imagine having an industry presence, or if you're making media appearances, there's no way that you wouldn't have already started on your journey. But if you haven't, this is an area that you definitely need to concentrate on. Defining a target audience is very, very important. Now, the reason I say this is because now we have generations who are on the internet. Instead of being bothered by engagement, likes, how many people follow you, how many people read you, it's important to know whether your audience, even if it is 5 paying people, which doesn't mean that they're going to give you dollars and revenue for every piece of content that you put out there. It's about whether they will be influenced by what you're saying. Even if it is 5 people, it is much better than having 5,000 people looking at your content and not engaging with it. So never fall into the trap of engagement, likes, how many people, etc. What is most important is defining your target audience and then being very categorical and almost blindsided to the fact that this is your target and niche. And if they get influenced, your job is done. You really don't care about the thousands and millions of people who are on LinkedIn. Because yes, by the way, India is the largest market for LinkedIn officially since January. So there are a lot of Indians out there, but that should not bother you. What you're interested in is that who needs to be your audience is listening and reading your content. And last, you need to choose your channels. You need to choose your poison. If you try to spread yourself too thin and you're trying to be everywhere, Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok and Koo and I don't know how many other channels, it's just not going to work. You need to be, especially if you're starting out in your journey, you need to pick one, really go deep, really become really good at it, and then start repurposing your content. And that's for a separate topic. It's a huge topic by itself. But first, just choose the channel that you're most comfortable with. Choose the voice, whether it is text, whether it is audio, whether it is video content that you want to start off with, and just get started. Now, how do you build your thought leadership platform? Now, I know that we had originally thought about only talking about LinkedIn, but I took a particular platform just to be able to showcase what you can do starting today. And by the way, this is all internet sourced content. This is not mine. And that's why I wanted to draw and highlight that if you want to get started in your journey, it's really, really simple. So we have Katrine, who does this brilliant job. She has a blog. If you want, please do go and read up her content. Obviously her infographics are brilliant, but she actually breaks down all these very, very complex topics very, very simply. So you can actually pick up LinkedIn as your go-to platform and start your journey right away. So question is, what do you need to do? You need to start posting on LinkedIn. You can share your own story. You can actually write a Google Doc and then copy paste it on LinkedIn. It's that simple. You can start engaging on LinkedIn. There are strategies of how people have acquired thousands of followers. Yes, that's right, thousands of followers by just engaging with thought leaders and people who are considered influencers on LinkedIn and posting very thoughtful comments on their posts. And you can start engaging with that because it gets you over that hump of not being able to write original content. If you have a thought or a comment to write, instead of writing CBFR or whatever it means, commenting for better reach, start engaging with why that content was relevant for you. And that will get you over that hesitation. Plan your posts and just get started. Now, the 5 pillars of a LinkedIn strategy, I won't be able to go into much detail, but I'm happy to share this content with you. By the way, it's easily available on the internet. You can pick up any one of this. You can pick up all of this. You can create a content calendar. You can literally say that I will do a personal story today, I will do a third-party story tomorrow, I will do a motivational story some other day, etc. But please remember, getting started is more important than getting into the how am I going to do it, how many likes am I going to get? Because some people are really great storytellers. They can talk about themselves. There are really some people who do a great recap of an event. If a lot of you have, like, for example, I attend Money 2020 virtually, which is a premium fintech event. That I follow people because they do such a great event recap. Now that's their niche and I love them for what they're doing. That does not mean that I can do the same thing. Similarly, third party content. There's a lot of people out there who actually look at content that has been created by some other brand, by some other business, and they bring insights and comments and they bring actionable insights and start talking about that to engage with their audience. You have so much you can do. And then there's, of course, thought leadership content, which is really original content that you are creating because you have the authority in that field. That is a lot more work and you require a lot. Like normally a great post, specifically a thought leadership post, can take anywhere between, like, there are people who can do it in 30 minutes, but it takes a lot of research to come up with a viral post. So I wouldn't recommend it for everybody to get started, but there are pillars of the strategy that are available. You can pick up the one that is easy for you, that reflects your voice, and doesn't stop you in your journey, so you don't need to feel pressure. Now, a great LinkedIn post is defined by many things. There are people who've done research on it. I will leave you with these 2 infographics, but essentially you need to have a trigger in every post. You need to have a great layout. You need to write long text. You need to tag people to start engagement. You need to have a call to action, and you need to use lots of hashtags. If you remember even 3 of these, your posts are going to do really, really well. Now, don't think that this is again the only way LinkedIn works. The algorithm, the famous algorithm of LinkedIn is here. It is this one is a very detailed one, but basically it literally breaks down how the algorithm looks at your content when you post it and how it starts showing up that content in people's feeds. This is based on 2022. The person Richard has done this amazing report. If you any of you are on LinkedIn and you're interested, go down and read every part of that report to understand. But I will leave you with this. When you post, make sure that you engage with your post in the first 60 to 90 minutes. Please do make sure that whenever people comment, you are actively engaging with them. Use hashtags, but not like, random hashtags, only those which are relevant. Tag people, make sure that they are engaging with your post. If they don't engage with your post, you're going to get penalized. Consistency is more important. LinkedIn looks at consistency, which means if you post it once in a month, it really wouldn't care for your content as much as it would for somebody who's posting, say, 3 to 5 times a week. So do consider all these aspects. Don't get overwhelmed. I know we are running short of time. I'm going to quickly hurry up. But by the way, this is all information which is available on the internet to help you get started on your LinkedIn journey. 1 minute. Yes, I'm going to leave you with one last piece of advice. I think amplifying your thought leadership content is also equally critical. You can create all the content in the world. You can create and think about yourself as a thought leader. But if it doesn't reach the right audience, then you will not be able to have your message reach your target audience. The ways to do this is, number one, leverage social media. It's a free tool. You have to spend time on it, but the returns are immense. So please use this to, first of all, identify your audience and engage with them. Secondly, I cannot emphasize this enough. please actively network. I have had people who sent me articles and I have reviewed them, provided comments, and then been able, and they have published this content out. This does not mean that it hasn't helped me, but because they have been actively connected with me, it's so much easier for me to be able to engage with their content every time it comes up in my feed. So when you actively engage and network with people, you will be surprised at how well your content will do, versus if you never engage with anyone's content and expect people only to engage with you, and you only network because you're looking for a job or you're looking for somebody to do something for you. That's not how it will help you grow your thought leadership. And last, media engagements. As women, please do actively seek out and look for how you can engage and find media engagements for yourself. There are plenty of ways to do this. We can definitely do a deeper dive at a later point in time. In conclusion, last slide. Remember, marketplace, building a personal brand through thought leadership is the key to standing out and achieving long-term success. So it's an imperative that you cannot ignore. And that's the one takeaway I want for all of you to have from this session. I will leave you with this very inspiring quote from David Beebe.
Hello.
He's written a book, by the way. Thought leadership is what we are saying the right. So thought lead story that it's a hey.
Sorry, we actually lost you
Aditi,
before
am
you
I
were wrapping up.
audible or is there a problem at my end?
We
Okay. Did you lose me like 10 seconds?
There's also a lag, so can you hear me now?
Okay,
Okay,
yes, I can.
now we're in real time, so yeah.
Okay, I'll just conclude very quickly. So the one thought that I want to leave you all with is that remember that in a crowded marketplace, building a powerful personal brand the key to standing out and realize the importance. If you already did not know, I'm pretty sure that you've already been working on this. But I leave you with one quote from David Beebe, who's written a book on thought leadership as well. He says, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. But thought leadership is what you say to make sure they're saying the right things. So thought leadership is very powerful to build your own story. And as women, we need our voices to be heard, but we also need our own story to be not only known by people, but to be able to create this voice and this supporting storyline that we have the power to create. So thank you so much to Aspire for Her and to all of you who are listening in. And happy to take any questions. Sorry, I've gone over, but it's a pretty. This is a topic I'm really passionate about.
It was
So I'll
absolutely
stop sharing.
wonderful, one very wonderful session. And I can completely understand why you couldn't stop yourself from sharing such gems of advices. And we do have a lot of questions here in the Q&A. So if we can like take it up.
Absolutely.
The question. First one is personal branding more of an entry level / mid-level strategy and thought leadership more of a senior level strategy?
I wouldn't say that. I will just say this, it really depends on also where you are in your career. For example, if you are a senior leader but you're looking for a job, there is hardly any amount of time that you want to spend building what would happen to the world in 10 years time. You need to be able to look at your own personal brand and be known for what you're known for. For example, if you are a job seeker, you're not going to be able to have the time and the energy to start looking at thought leadership in the area to be able to change the world. But yes, if I were a mid-level senior professional, I would probably look at personal brand followed by thought leadership in terms of phase wise. But I wouldn't say that it applies to everyone. Also, by the way, not everybody should consider themselves. First of all, spend so much time and energy on being a thought leader. You may be perfectly happy to have a great, strong personal brand and be completely happy with it. Not everybody is here to change the world. It really depends on what your passion is and what you want to do.
Sophie wants to know, in order to make a personal brand, what are the steps that we need to follow? Does the the personal brand the first step of being a thought leader? Like you just answered. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I did try to list out the steps. So hopefully, if you can follow that framework, it will be easy for you.
Yeah. Uh, Anonymous wants to know, how can we build a media presence, and how and where to network for the same?
Okay, this is a great question. By the way, I've also asked myself this question, but that's why I came on social media. When you start engaging with people, people know you, and that's when they reach out to you. It's as simple as that. There is another way which is more active, which is cold emails, cold messaging to people on LinkedIn as well, or even on Twitter, and just saying that, I'm here, I speak about this particular topic, can you consider me for a speaking opportunity? There are plenty of I think aggregation sites that actually list out all the media related events in a particular niche area. So if you follow thought leaders in a particular niche, you will start looking at where they are engaging and who they speak to. Where are the speaking conferences being held? You literally need to just invest time to follow. And it's like they already would have the dots, and you need to connect the dots to be able to reach the right person or to reach the right agency who actually organizes it. It is a long way to get there, but then of course, and if you have a marketing muscle behind you, then your PR can do that. Also, you can also buy this service. So, but that's for another time.
That's interesting to know. So before we move on to the next Q&A questions, Deepika, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sure. Firstly, a great session, Monica. I never thought of it as two different, as in separate things. It was always fuzzy in my head, but there was a lot of clarity in this. I have a bit of a cliched question, but it's been bothering me for quite some time. So when you're building out a personal brand, for example, if I'm a learning facilitator in the behavioral skills space, that's my niche, right? And if I want work, that is what I will speak about. Behavioral skills, basically. But I'm more than that, So as a person, I am more than that. There may be things that I love. For example, I like driving. Do I talk about the fact that I also race cars, So when you're building out a personal brand and you want to attract work or attract speaker opportunities, do you stick to what will attract you the work, which is your niche, or do you also build out who you are? It's been bothering me for very, very long.
I love your question because that's the question I ask myself every single day. So the short answer to this is that if you're looking for business, honestly, I would love if you were to stick to your niche area. And because business opportunities come by when you're more likely than not having a very professional existence. But the fact of the matter is that if you're over indexing on your niche, you will not have a very high engagement, which means your followership will not grow. I have been looking since 2022 last quarter how I've been told that I have never put out a personal story about myself. So I've received this feedback. So don't think that, and the reason I'm making this personal about me is not because I'm a great thought leader by any count. The reason I'm saying this is because all of us have that question because we are a lot more than our work. But some people are comfortable putting their personal stories out. But a lot of this, because of the noise and the signal ratio that is very high right now on noise, is becoming such cliched content that you lose your authenticity in that.
Yeah.
It's a very fine balance. And personally speaking, I have chosen, for example, Instagram to now put a lot of personal content and chosen LinkedIn to still remain my niche because I believe that my professional brand is about a few areas that I like for it. And I've completely dismissed the whole personal opportunity about how I've gone through that, a banana fell in the road and I fell on it and then something happened and somebody came by, the zombie stories. I have refrained from that. But again, that's me. Don't follow this path. You must, for me, if I were you, I'll actually do an A/B test. You could figure out what your followers are looking for by doing a few posts a week and just seeing what kind of reaction it generates.
Sure, I will do that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Once again, great presentation.
Thank you so much.
Someone also wants to know what exactly comes under branding.
So branding is what people talk about you, what you are putting, the story that you're putting out there. And it's very simple. Actually, again, we've made everything complex. If you just go to your LinkedIn, right? The reason I keep talking about LinkedIn is because it's something we relate to. But if you go to LinkedIn, in the About Me section, just the 3-4 top keywords there is your brand. That's what people know you for. So if you're running an agency, if you're solving some problem, like for example, if I was solving world hunger, I would just say I'm solving world hunger, right? So that's your brand. That's what people. So again, I remember I said this, and again, because I myself look at, I'm hiring, so I know what I'm trying to look for. When I think about people, the 2 or 3 keywords that strike out is typically your brand and what people talk about you. They'll never think about long sentences, and that's your brand.
Absolutely makes sense. We have the last question by Sushmita. If you could give a few examples of guest blogging and how exactly it works.
So guest blogging is that if somebody has an active blog, and a lot of people now do. So what you do is you actually say that, for example, it's in your niche. You say that I have this idea that I would love to do a guest blog with you on. You send that idea and maybe an excerpt or a summary, and you say, can I be featured on your blog? More often than not, specifically, if it's a problem that you're solving for them, they would be more than happy to feature you. So that's how you start out on your guest blogging journey. Another example is to collaborate with somebody who already has a blog and say, I would love to co-author with you and to be featured on this article. Now, again, there are people who are very benevolent and who are happy to do this. There are others who are not, but it's definitely a great way to get started, and it doesn't put all the emphasis and obviously the focus on you to be able to create all this original content and be judged and everything. Plus they have the channel because they have the SEO optimization, the marketing, so it can get you a quick name very, very fast.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Monica.
Thank you so much, Monica. And before we end the session, we would like to launch another poll to get a more deeper understanding of how the session was for you all. Did you enjoy it? Because I for sure enjoyed it. And thank you so much, Monica, for sharing your really insider details on how to go about two very different things, but something that everybody takes to be the same thing, because not everyone thinks that personal branding is different from thought leadership or vice versa. So thank you so much for shedding a lot of light on this particular topic. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. I don't even need to hope because I know that it's a fact. So we have answers coming in. Would request everyone to please participate in the poll and help us out. And thank you so much, Monica, for agreeing to be here as our speaker and for sharing all your knowledge. We would love to have you again for a follow-up session if you would like to, because we sure would love to have you again.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And by the way, I think the answers that we are receiving just shows that probably thought leadership is definitely topmost of everyone's mind, and they would love another session. So probably we should do it again.
Absolutely, we definitely should. So let's hope we have the next session coming soon. Yes, and with that, thank you so much everyone for joining in. And